one thing I learned from Miles? It's all possible.
Spider-Gwen is without a doubt one of my absolute favorite characters from across the Spider-Verse because she is incredibly relatable and undeniably badass. However, it is truly mind-boggling how much hate she received after the release of the movie. I mean, I can somewhat understand why she is being so widely disliked by many people. It is probably because of what she did to Miles, which involved lying to him and concealing crucial information. But let's take a moment to put ourselves in her shoes. I'm not saying that what she did was right, but her intention was to protect Miles. We all know that she has a soft spot for him, and it is precisely because of this that some individuals dislike her character. They cannot overlook the fact that she lied and broke Miles' heart, but it is important to remember that she was being pressured by Miguel and Jessica Drew. Because if she were to step out of line, it would provide a legitimate reason for her to be expelled from the Spider Society. She had only become a member of this society because Jessica Drew had convinced Miguel to include her. Without Jessica's influence, it is highly unlikely that Miguel would have allowed her to join. He was well aware of how close she was with Miles, but he understood the danger she faced if she stayed in her universe, where her own father was relentlessly hunting her. This precarious situation was the very reason why she had been invited to join the Spider Society by Jessica and Miguel. It was during that moment when Gwen revealed her true identity to her father, bravely removing her mask in the hopes that he would understand the circumstances. She explained to him that she did not kill her best friend, but unfortunately, her father remained indifferent to her plea. He callously aimed a gun at her, leaving her with no choice but to seek refuge in the Spider Society as a means of escape. After enduring a series of traumatic events, including being falsely accused of killing her best friend and being relentlessly pursued by her own father, she found herself yearning for the one person who truly understood her. Unfortunately, fate had cruelly placed him in a different universe, making it impossible for her to reach him. It was in this state of longing and desperation that she made the decision to join the Spider Society. Deep down, her main motivation was to reunite with Miles, the person she had grown to love. Let's face it, the way she bid farewell to him in the first movie, saying "See you around, Spider-Man," was a clear indication that her feelings for him had blossomed. But unfortunately, the situation took a turn for the worse when Miguel explicitly instructed her not to see Miles or have any contact with him. To make matters even more complicated, Jessica Drew, who seemed to be Miguel's assistant, possibly warned her that if she didn't comply with their orders, she would have no choice but to make her return to her universe. This news undoubtedly saddened Gwen, as she truly wanted to see Miles. However, she found herself being blackmailed by both Miguel and Jessica Drew, which only added to her distress. Furthermore, it is likely that Gwen was also informed about Miles' origin and the fact that he was considered an anomaly. The knowledge of his father's death and the canon events surrounding him must have made Gwen even more hesitant about visiting him, but what I love about Gwen is that she didn't care if he was an anomaly or not. It didn't change her love for him. But this thing about following canon events ultimately led to a heartbreaking decision on Gwen's part. She allowed innocent people to die because she believed it was a necessary sacrifice due to the canonical event. When you really think about it, this whole situation is incredibly messed up. However, it was not her fault. She was just following orders from Miguel. And in that place, she discovered a community of spider people who had also experienced similar pain. This provided her with some comfort, as she realized that the suffering she endured was all part of being a spider person. It was all meant to happen. When there was a mission in Miles' universe, she was entrusted by Jessica Drew to go there and monitor the main villain, the Spot. Despite being instructed not to see Miles, she couldn't care less about these orders. She had been a part of the Spider Society for months and had been longing to see him. If given the opportunity, she would definitely not let it slip away. And it is because of the conscious decision to see Miles that all the events unfolded, leading to a series of remarkable occurrences throughout the movie. Their little date together, in particular, was an absolute marvel, as it brought them closer together. Finally, Gwen found herself with someone who could genuinely comprehend her, and it was evident that Miles reciprocated her feelings. This was evident through the multitude of drawings he had of her in his sketchbook, showcasing his deep affection. Moreover, the way he looked at Gwen spoke volumes about his love for her. However, despite their blossoming romance, Gwen couldn't help but be cautious due to the canon events that had taken place in other universes. In these alternate realities, every version of Gwen had met a tragic fate after falling in love with Spider-Man. As she found herself falling for Miles, she couldn't shake off the fear of something terrible happening to either of them if they pursued a relationship. It wasn't that she didn't want to be with him. Her face, as she gazed at Miles, revealed her already existing love for him. She was simply apprehensive about the potential consequences their love might bring. She had the opportunity to reveal the truth about his father's death to him, but she made the decision to withhold it, fearing that she would lose him forever. This fear stemmed from Miguel's belief that altering a significant event in the timeline would cause the entire universe to vanish. She likely believed that if she informed him of his father's fate, he would attempt to save him, potentially leading to the destruction of his own universe. Whether or not the concept of canon events holds true remains uncertain, but the next movie will likely provide clarification on this matter. As we all know, Miles chose to follow Gwen and jumped into the portal to be with her. He had come to the realization that the idea of canon events was nonsensical, as a true Spider-Man would never allow an innocent person to die without attempting to save them. He believed that he could fulfill both responsibilities, saving his father and saving the multiverse. Miles embodied everything that Spider-Man was meant to be, serving as a great inspiration to Gwen. However, their relationship took a turn when Miles discovered that Gwen had known the truth about his father's death but chose to keep it from him. This betrayal not only shattered his trust in Gwen, but also broke his heart when his mentor, Peter B. Parker, also knew about it and didn't tell him. Despite the pain, Miles remained determined to save his father, setting off a thrilling chase with the entire Spider Society hot on his trail. Gwen, torn between her gut instinct to approach things differently and the pressure from Jessica Drew, reluctantly joined the pursuit. It was evident that Gwen didn't want to chase after Miles, but circumstances forced her hand. Eventually, she found herself expelled from the Spider Society, with Jessica turning a blind eye to her pleas. As Miles bid her farewell, Gwen's heart ached at the sight of him. He felt utterly heartbroken and betrayed by the person he had trusted the most. Sent back to her universe, Gwen realized that it was time to confront her own problems instead of running away from them. This time, she would face her challenges head-on, determined to find her own path. She reconciled with her father, and the scene of them hugging was incredibly beautiful. The colors in that moment were so breathtaking, reflecting Gwen's ever-changing mood. She discovered that her father, who was supposed to die in a canon event, had actually quit being a captain, altering the course of events without destroying her universe. This realization made her understand that Miles was right, and she was now determined to pursue him and assist in saving his father. She was finally ready to embrace her love for him, no longer hiding her feelings. This is what I admire about Gwen. Despite making a mistake, she is willing to do the right thing, starting with helping Miles. The very first action she takes is to have a conversation with Miles' parents, informing them that she will bring him back. Throughout the movie, Miles has been a great source of inspiration for her, and a particular quote of his has really stuck with her: "There's a first time for everything." When she spoke to Miles' parents, she expressed how she learned from him that anything is possible. However, it won't be an easy task to regain his trust, especially after what she did to him. Nevertheless, her determination to save Miles is evident in the fact that she assembled an entire team of spiders to help. Now, she is no longer afraid and is determined to follow her own path. I sincerely hope that nothing tragic occurs in the next movie involving her character. I truly want to see her happy, being with Miles and finally finding happiness together because of the undeniable chemistry they share. It will be interesting to observe how Miles reacts upon seeing Gwen. Initially, he might choose to ignore her, but deep down, I believe he still loves her and will eventually forgive her. However, Gwen will need to do more than just apologize to Miles, considering all that has transpired between them. Despite the challenges they have faced, it is highly likely that they will reconcile and become an official couple by the end of Beyond the Spider-Verse. This would serve as the perfect ending for the trilogy and potentially the last Miles Morales movie in the Spider-Verse. Additionally, I would like to emphasize that Gwen is an exceptional character who unfortunately faces criticism from those who fail to understand her story in the movie. She truly deserves all the good things that come her way. I am eagerly anticipating the moment when she finally confesses her love for Miles. If you enjoyed my take on Spider-Gwen, please consider subscribing to my channel as it greatly helps in its growth. Once again, thanks for watching.